Inspire the Journey, mission to help the youth.
Hey, what's up guys? It's Rye with Inspire the Journey, as if you don't know. So I was going to start chapter 3, but then I realized that I really needed to have episode 12 of chapter 2. So welcome to chapter 2, episode 12, and it's named All the Small Things. Nothing to do with the band Blink-182. As you guys heard me talk about in the last episode about my papa, how he had to live in a nursing home, I decided to make this episode and drive out to the nursing home that he lived in. And I'm probably not supposed to be doing this on the property, but that's okay. It's from my papa. So he didn't end up living that long after he had to live in the assisted living. So behind me, that's the building that he stayed in for the last remainder of his life. So the name of this episode is All the Small Things, for a reason. When my grandfather had to transition to getting adjusted living in here, it helped me realize how the small things in your life can make you so happy. I know that's kind of vague, but before I went into high school, I used to spend a lot of time here with him. I didn't drive at the time, so I had my parents drive me whenever they could. I didn't want to lose my grandfather, so I spent as much time as I could with him. Unfortunately, it wasn't long enough, but that's not the point of this video. So when I used to go visit him, I'd volunteer to help with bingo, and he loved that. It makes me sad but happy remembering whenever he would win bingo, he would cry, and it was because it's one of those small things that can make you so happy. Like, he was just so happy I was spending time with him, and like when they'd win bingo, they'd be able to pick out a prize, and he used to pick out a tissue box and he'd win bingo, and I remember he'd cry to the point where there was no sound coming out of his voice, and that's something I'll never forget. My grandfather, he was my hero, and it's unfortunate he had to live here until he passed away, but every moment I spent here with him is it's an impression on my heart I'll never forget. And I learned a lot about my grandfather when I come here and spend time with him. He talked to me about when he was in the Korean conflict war, the things that he had to see and do while he was over there. My papa was a very brave man, and I thank God I got to know him as well as I did. It's really hard remembering a lot of stuff about him. That's why I tried to send out some mini DV tapes to get the footage converted so I could see it. I haven't heard my grandfather's voice since my freshman year in high school. At the end of 8th grade, he used to, help me try to figure out ways to deal with being picked on and being bullied and stuff. And my grandfather was he was one of my best friends, I know a lot of kids they're not lucky enough to be able to spend time with their grandparents. A lot of, there's kids that can't see their parents. Either their parents just aren't around or they died. And I can't even imagine how hard that would be when a kid coming up without a father, a mother, or both. My grandfather, when he was really young, I don't remember what order, because I'm going all off the top of my head, so I'm just going to generalize. I think by the time he was 11, both of his parents passed away. Like, his mother died when he was really young, 7 or 9 or something. And then his father, who was my great-grandfather, the firefighter, died. He had a heart attack walking down the street. So it was either an orphanage, or his older siblings would take him in, and that's what they ended up doing. I guess at the time, like, they got food stamps or something for having to watch a kid that was so young, so they did it. And my grandfather grew up going to a Catholic school. He knew every prayer and everything, and he was set off into life on a rough note. You know, losing both your parents so young. And he still ended up turning out to be an amazingly strong person. I learned a lot about him when I'd come here and see him. I took for granted all the time I had with him when he was living at home. And that, you know, hurts to say, like a lot of the stuff I say. But realistically, you guys have to appreciate all the time you have with your grandparents, your great-grandparents. I only knew my great-grandmother on my mother's side. She died when I was in, I think, like elementary school. Like, before my papa, there were deaths in my family, but you know, the relationship I had with my papa was a lot stronger than I had with, you know, the other family members. So him coming into this place to spend the rest of his life was incredibly hard on him, you know, my Mimi and the rest of my family, and I took it really hard. So like I said, I came here and I spent as much time as possible that I could with him. And it was all about the small things. I don't really think I ever saw my grandfather cry before, up until he came into the nursing home. Losing your sense of independence, I can't even imagine how hard that is. Like I said in episode 11, he had a stroke and he lost control of the left side of his body, and they tried to do physical therapy for him, and he was never able to walk ever again. So I said my grandfather was a bigger guy. He couldn't just sit in a regular wheelchair. It had to be like a big one. And the doorways of my old house had narrow doorways, narrow openings. Yeah, this is an emotional subject for me. Narrow openings, so his big wheelchair couldn't fit through there. There were a few times that, well, there was a good handful of times we got him out of Braemore, and Braemore is the name of this place. You know, whether it was just taking him outside or actually, you know, getting him in a van and taking him out to do something. And I remember there were a few times my dad managed to get my papa to go to some of the sports events. Like my younger brother Ty, he used to play baseball, and you know, my sister Ashley played softball. And I remember he was just so happy to sit there and watch his grandkids play. And I remember he'd cry like every time he saw them hit the ball. And I think it's because maybe part of him felt like he wouldn't be able to see any of that stuff because he was stuck in this place. Like, I remember spending his 75th birthday here with him. Like, we got him, we were able to take him to our old house. And like, my uncles were over and stuff, because it was a big deal, because he was always confined to this place. And when we got him in, like, to our house, we spent time with him outside because of his wheelchair, but then he was like adamant that he wanted to go in the house and use the bathroom. I think it was almost like his excuse to like just see his house again. Like, I can't imagine like what it would be. Well, I'm not going to finish that statement because I can't imagine what it's like losing your house. I can't, because it's happened to me. But he insisted on going in the house and using the bathroom. So I don't know how much my grandfather weighed. He's probably like 300 pounds at least. And my father and a couple of my uncles, they struggled to get him into the bathroom. And like, I just remember my grandfather's reaction. He broke down crying. It's like him being so tough his whole life, getting through all the things he went through. And then realizing that he didn't have that independence to even go to the restroom by himself. It's all the small things that we take for granted every single day. Imagine if you didn't have access to do all the things you can do standing up. Remembering this kind of stuff really just really makes me appreciate every single thing I have in my life. And I know when we living comes with happiness and it comes with pain, and it's a part of life. And that's pretty much all I want to say for this video. I think I'm ready to enter chapter 3. It's all about the small things. It really is. And actually, no, there's one more point I wanted to mention. When my grandfather talked to me about the Korean conflict when he was in the war, he told me about the poverty he saw over there. And it was just horrible. Like the buildings these people lived in, the little shacks and stuff. And I remember when he told me about that, I told him, I said, I want to find a way to help them someday. And wanting to go to the trade school for carpentry, I figured, maybe someday I could use that and, go places and help people, build houses or something. And that's kind of where the seed got planted. It was from my grandfather. It's like I always wanted to help people, but I didn't want to join the service. I'm not one for wanting to shoot people to help people. I'd rather go and just, do something I can with my talent or skill. So that's that for chapter 2. It's finally done. So that's 12 episodes for chapter 2. And I was going to start episode 1 for chapter 3 today, but I'm beat. I've shot so many episodes the last few days. I just need to go home and edit and take a rest. So I hope you guys stay tuned. God bless, and I love you all. Take care.